This video has been funded in part by the Guild via Patreon. Check out the links in the description or at the end of this video for more details. Hello everybody, my name is Gildart, and welcome back to another Musou pros vs cons review. As always, I start the final Musou video with a mixture of excitement and melancholy. We're nearing the end of this year's event, and I just wanted to thank you all for everything. It may not be truly over just yet, but it has been a fun ride so far. About 3 years ago, I took a look at the 4th entry in the Pirate Warriors franchise. It was actually one of the first mini reviews I ever did, but now it's time to take a deep dive into this game. After Pirate Warriors 3, I never expected to receive a 4th entry. It honestly felt like Koei Tecmo and Namco Bandai were looking to move on. We had so many other One Piece games since then, so I just thought Namco Bandai was trying something different with the series. I can't say I blame them for that. You don't want to find yourself stuck doing the same thing over and over again. Now, I only recently bought One Piece World Seeker, so I can't say if those ventures were successful or not, but when One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 was announced, there was loads of hype in the community. So far, One Piece and Gundam are the only spin-off Musou games to receive 4 entries. When I took a look at Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn, I gave it a high score because it took everything the first 3 games did and evolved it into what I believe to be the perfect Dynasty Warriors Gundam experience. With One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 hitting store shelves worldwide on March 27, 2020, would it achieve the same for its series? I've made my complaints and nitpicks about the Pirate Warriors series with each release, and I highly recommend watching all of those videos before this one to get a good understanding of the evolution this series has had. There is a playlist for each Musou theme, so click the iCard in the top right if you want to catch up on all of the Pirate Warriors reviews before going any further. If you're all caught up, you'll know that Pirate Warriors 3 is now the second Musou game that I've given a 10 out of 10 to. So far, there have only been 3 games that have received this in my pros vs cons review series. So will Pirate Warriors 4 succeed the 3rd title and become the 4th perfect score alongside Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition and Horizon Zero Dawn? Now, I may be getting a little too far ahead of myself. There's still a lot to discuss before we start talking about rating this game. So before we go too far, don't forget to give this video a like, comment with your thoughts below, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, it's time to take a look at One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 with the first pro. Starting things off with the usual topic, One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is one of the best looking anime Musou games ever. And no, I will not be taking any questions. You cannot convince me otherwise. Lighting and shadows are cast in a much more realistic way without taking away that anime aesthetic. Particle effects like fire and lightning give off this glow that makes the battlefield feel way more dynamic. Playing as Mihawk with his sword glowing green as you attack more just looks so much better than it did in previous entries. Not to mention how every character looks so freaking good. I would consistently use Musous just to see the character faces in action. All the new characters look so cool, and I couldn't even imagine how they would look in the previous game's engines. They just look too iconic in this entry. The environments also look like they've been given a boost in quality. Maps are more dynamic with slopes, stairs, towns, and even castles throughout some stages. There were times where I got lost in some of these stages because of how large and unique they are, but I never found that to be a bad thing. I loved exploring stages and trying to figure it all out. The stage design is taken to another level in Pirate Warriors 4 thanks to the addition of environmental damage. As you fight off waves of enemy forces, you'll find yourself attacking walls from time to time. If you do that here, you'll end up destroying the various environmental pieces around. This could be trees, houses, rocks, or more. When you're in towns and villages, absolute devastation is a guarantee, and it just makes the stages feel more alive. Con! One thing that has been a consistent pro with each entry are the additions that have been made to the roster. Each entry has added characters, slowly building the ultimate One Piece roster. With Pirate Warriors 3, I said that we had 37 playable characters. Of that 37, 10 characters had costumes that gave the player a different moveset. With Pirate Warriors 4, we have 43 characters, of which only 4 have different movesets with different costumes, at least from what I've seen. You can also add an additional 9 characters with DLC. There are a lot of characters that were added here. In fact, there were a total of 13 new characters plus the 9 that were added as DLC. All of this sounds pretty positive until you actually start doing the math. If we had 37 before and 13 new characters, that should mean that the roster would be 50 characters total. But we see the omission of 6 previous characters, including Garp, Moria, Anil, Megalon, Caesar, Kuma, and Perona. Of these 6, Garp and Kuma even appear in this game as enemies. Then there's the fact that in Pirate Warriors 3, we had about 10 characters who would have different movesets with different outfits. This is mostly the pre- and post-time skip costumes for the Straw Hats. With Pirate Warriors 4, there are only about 4 characters with different movesets. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp all have their pre-time skip outfits that have different movesets. Does that mean all of the other Straw Hats just keep the same moveset from pre- and post-time skip? Nope. The other characters like Nami, Robin, Chopper, Frankie, and Brook just don't have their pre-time skip outfits at all. Then how do they give us an effective story? Well, those characters' pre-time skip costumes do exist in the game, they're just not available to the player. I honestly don't know who thought this was a good idea. Frankie is really the only one that kind of makes sense because his pre- and post-time skip outfits are so different. But the other characters could have just had the same moveset. I know it doesn't make the most sense with their pre-time skip version having access to the same moves as their post-time skip, but just don't hold us back from being able to use the outfits that are obviously in the game. There are also some outfits that have just been omitted from previous games, including the Jail and Marineford outfits for Buggy and the Marineford costume for Crocodile. There were also some DLC outfits that are available thanks to the Digital Deluxe Edition, and some that were available through pre-order. Luckily, the pre-order DLC was added later as Warriors crossover outfits for Law and Hancock, as well as the 3 Wano Arc outfits for Luffy, Zoro, and Nami. But that's it. With Pirate Warriors 3, not only did we have a handful of nice outfits, but it also included all of the previous outfits from Pirate Warriors 1 and 2. Really, if we got those in this engine, I probably wouldn't be so salty about the loss of the pre-time skip outfits. I always use alternate outfits as a way to mix things up when I'm grinding. And when it comes to a Warriors game, the post-story grind is always a long one. If I'm playing as the same character over and over again, I want to be able to play using different outfits to keep things fresh. Luffy gets a bunch, but even when you look at Zoro getting both pre- and post-time skip, he doesn't get his yellow jacket from the previous games. Instead, he just gets his white t-shirt from early in the anime. Why can't we have both? I just don't understand. So you know how I've been praising each and every entry for its combat? Well, I am pleased to say that Pirate Warriors 4 is the most solid combat experience I think I've had in any Warriors title. Each Warriors entry has had its own unique spin on the usual light and heavy attack combos we all know and love. I mean, with the exception of Dynasty Warriors 6, Dynasty Warriors 9, and Togenrambu Warriors. Those were all different, but Pirate Warriors 4 actually feels like not only an evolution of the Pirate Warriors formula, but an evolution of all of the Warriors mechanics combined. You have your usual square and triangle light and heavy attacks. Again, you don't guard, so L1 just resets the camera behind the character. You can hit R3 to lock onto enemy officers, and that's really the end of the usual gameplay mechanics. Now, I hear you thinking, so wait, this game doesn't have Musous? And you don't have to worry. Musou attacks are still intact. They are just tied to skills, which can be accessed by holding R1 and pressing one of the face buttons. There is a wide variety of skills at each character's disposal. These can range from a unique action that is slightly stronger than your usual heavy attack, the Musou attacks we all know and love, status affecting attacks like burn or poison, or transformation skills. That last one is really cool. It can be as basic as Crocodile turning into sand or Smoker activating his smoke, but it can also be an actual transformation like Luffy changing into his different gears. Every character starts with 4 of their skills, but you can unlock more by using coins on each character's map. So if you activate Musou attacks by holding R1 and hitting the face button, what does Circle do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Pirate Warriors 4 adds a new dynamic to the combat by changing the dash from X to circle. The dash now uses stamina, which can be upgraded just like all of your other stats. Dashing forward not only pushes you towards or away from the enemy, but it also slightly damages enemies as you pass by them. X now jumps into the air. When I was talking about how I would build my ideal Warriors game controls, I said that I didn't really understand having a jump mechanic in a usual Warriors title. However, However, the way Pirate Warriors 4 does it actually makes sense. Instead of just jumping so you can do an aerial attack, when you jump mid-combo, you will pull the enemies around you into the air. Some characters will even have access to a full aerial combo instead of just one single light or heavy attack. Even then, some R1 skills can be activated mid-air, allowing for probably the most varied combat experience in any Warriors game. When I did my mini review, I mentioned that this makes me want a Dragon Ball Z Musou game that much more. With being able to pull enemies into the air like this, we could easily see that happen. Whenever I play a long stretch of Pirate Warriors 4 and then go back to any other Musou game, I instinctively revert back to this control scheme. This can lead me to activating a Musou when I just wanted to dash. It's just that good that it overtakes the normal Musou controls. As well, there's one addition to Pirate Warriors 4 that I really enjoy, and that is the giant characters. Sure, we had Kuma and Whitebeard in previous games, but regular foot soldiers were about waist height to them. Now, when you play as Whitebeard, the foot soldiers might reach his knees. Not only do these characters just absolutely decimate the environment as they run around the stages, they also deal incredible damage and just sweep straight through the enemy army. What they did in Pirate Warriors 4 with the giant characters is way better than what they did with the mobile armors in Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn. Once you finish the story, you'll also get the chance to play as Kaido, who is just so much fun to use. Again, I'm going back to the potential of a Dragon Ball Z Musou. These giant characters are a great testing ground to see what the Uzaru would play like. I know I keep mentioning Dragon Ball Z in this video, but I have a good knowledge of that IP where I haven't even made it to the triple digits in One Piece's episodes. I gotta give context where I can. One thing that the Pirate Warriors series has kind of flip-flopped on has been the story. The very first Pirate Warriors game did a pretty good job of giving us something unique with the usual Musou mechanics. It may not have been the greatest way to experience the overall One Piece story, but it was a fun time nonetheless. Pirate Warriors 2 took this series in a different direction by giving us a completely original story that didn't quite stick the landing in my opinion. It really felt like the point of the story was just to pit friends against each other, and when it felt like the story was actually getting to an interesting point, I didn't really care to pay attention anymore. Pirate Warriors 3 was really the story that felt like a good experience for both longtime fans and newcomers to One Piece. It did a good job of showing key points in the main story while introducing a handful of characters that may not have been playable but could be used to effectively tell the story. Pirate Warriors 4's story is a bit of a mixed bag. The story only covers 6 arcs: Alabasta, Enies Lobby, Marineford, Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, and Wano, the last of which is completely original to the game. Wano being an original story is likely similar to the ending of Dressrosa being original in Pirate Warriors 3, where it hadn't finished in the anime by the time this game was released. Where this game only gives you 6 arcs, Pirate Warriors 3 covered a lot more of the story than what we get here. Sure, they dive a little deeper into the arcs we get, but it doesn't really help when you miss a bunch of story. Like, you probably could have covered at least Orange Town and Log Town since Buggy exists in this game. Maybe I just feel this way because the game really starts after what I've watched up to. Even though the story is about half pre and half post time skip, it really feels like the focus of this game is after the time skip. Since they cut out so many playable and non-playable characters, it doesn't leave a lot of room to flesh out the story for newcomers. If you're hoping to get a good understanding of One Piece's story, I'm sorry, but you will not find that here. That being said, I do need to praise the smaller details of the story mode here. Even though it doesn't quite cover what I would like to see, it does do a good job of keeping the player engaged by giving us some of the most gorgeous anime cutscenes that have ever graced a Musou title. Not only that, the cardboard cutout scenes that I complain about so frequently have been replaced by these more dynamic set pieces. Character interactions and pre-stage exposition is far more interesting thanks to this added level of quality. I would say this is similar to what we would eventually see in Samurai Warriors 5, where characters have a variety of preset emotions and animations to make the conversations feel more like an event than a static visual novel picture. I also mentioned earlier that you can use coins in a similar way to Pirate Warriors 3, but it's honestly way more fleshed out in this game. In Pirate Warriors 3, you used a handful of coins to level up your different stats. You could unlock costumes, as well as different Musous for each character. Though you can't unlock costumes with coins in this game, you do use coins to slowly grow your character's stats and unlock various skills and abilities. Each character has access to 3 total maps. The first map is shared among all characters and gives stat boosts as well as abilities that can increase land and aerial damage as well as increase the money that you'll earn. A lot of these are similar to what we've seen in previous games, but some of the abilities can be unlocked on the second map, which is character specific. This map also has stat boost options, but it's also where you can unlock and level up the different skills that are mapped to R1. Some of the characters that have different movesets when they change to their pre and post time skip outfits will only have access to some skills in their costume. The final map has to be unlocked by increasing the bond with that character. You do this by playing through stages with those characters. Once they reach a certain level, you'll unlock the final map, which is all stat boosts. This final map is where you really beef up your characters to take on the more difficult stages you'll need to finish in order to pop all of the achievements and trophies in this game. Honestly, this type of skill tree-esque mechanic is way better than just leveling up your character. Con! That being said, one thing that I dislike about the maps is that this is the only way to level up your characters. So instead of playing through stages with one character to level them up enough to take on some of the harder stages, you are forced to save your coins and money for the character you really want to level up. It's almost better to beef up one character and take them into the harder stages and use the coins and money that you've earned there to level up the characters that you're not using. There's really no point in choosing different characters for grinding anymore. The only reason you select a character in this game is to decide what moveset you want to use. I also mentioned this in the mini review, but I still think that map 1 should have the moveset increase options rather than it being tied to each character's unique maps. Make it so that they are more spread out from each other. Maybe also make it so you can't start leveling up one option until you've reached a certain level with a previous option. I just don't like the idea of unlocking a new character that I can use during the last couple of story missions only to have to use the limited moveset because they're brand new. If you put barriers on unlocking more movesets in map 1, it can be a more smooth progression throughout the game. One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is also the first Pirate Warriors game to hit current Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and PC platforms. It has the best opportunity to see play by a wider market. That being said, I have to touch on the Switch's performance. It doesn't really underperform like you would think from a modern Warriors Switch port. In fact, I would say that it runs fairly smooth for that platform. Instead, what I'll be talking about is how foot soldiers look like they are running at 5 frames per second while the character models are running at the usual 60. This may have been how they attained the smoother gameplay on this console, but it just looks so awkward. It almost made me think that I was experiencing dropped frames or slowdown until I looked back at my own character to realize that no, that's just how the game runs. I also have to mention an aspect of the combat that is incredibly disappointing. Though the combat controls here are some of the best we've seen in a Warriors game, they removed one thing that I praised about the last 3 entries. Pirate Warriors 4 goes back to the usual combat style of pressing light attacks until you want to finish your combo with a heavy attack. Instead of being able to mix triangles and squares, we are back to square triangle combat. This isn't a bad mechanic at all, and the game plays very competently, but it takes away a unique part of Pirate Warriors' personality. Now it feels closer to the usual anime Warriors spin-off. They also removed crew actions from this game. This was something the Pirate Warriors series was known for, and it really feels like such a missed opportunity. They could have done something that mixed all 3 games' crew actions together to really push the evolution of things. The first game had you pairing up with allies, and after completing a specific combo, you can call that crew member out for a brief combo. With the second game, you activated a rage-like state, and if you used Musou during it, you'll swap characters for a short period of time. With the third game, you would summon your crew member to do an additional attack by continuing to press square or triangle at the end of your combo. Plus, you would enter a rage-like state to do large, decimating attacks. What I would envision with Pirate Warriors 4 could be an amalgamation of everything here. One button I didn't mention while talking about the combat controls was R2, which is only used when playing online. If someone is dying, you can run to them and heal them with that button. I think this could have been left to pressing X or square, or even just standing within a circle around the dying player. Instead, R2 could have been used to pair allies to different face buttons to summon them on a cooldown. When you summon them, they could do a variety of actions. Maybe Usopp throws a poison bottle on the enemies, inflicting a status ailment. Maybe Luffy pushes enemies away with his Gum Gum Bazooka. Maybe Zoro does a wide AoE slash. Either way, there was opportunity to implement more personality into this game. You still level up characters' crew level, but that's just tied to whoever's in the stage already. If this were implemented every time you summon that character, it could would increase their crew level that much more. Next up on my complaint list is the extra mode in this game. Every game so far has had something additional to the main story, and most have fallen pretty flat. The only one that I feel I liked to any extent was from Pirate Warriors 3. With this entry, we get Treasure Log, which is a set of stages where you just complete a handful of missions until the enemy commander shows up. That's it. There are some neat challenges here, like racking up a high bounty with 4 other allies, and you can tell this stage was meant to be played online, but these sort of stages are few and far between. It's mostly just thrown together stages that have no real point other than being a stage to take out a bunch of enemies in. Each stage in Treasure Log gives you coins, and you need to finish so many stages and get so many S ranks just to unlock some of the characters, so you have to play Treasure Log. The last thing I'll mention is something that has been in every Pirate Warriors game up until this point. I had a similar con when it came to Pirate Warriors 3 foregoing victory animations even though the first 2 had them. This is another one of those complaints that doesn't make or break the rating of this game, but is still a nice addition that is surprising to see it not only leave, but actually not be used in many other games. From what I can tell, the only games to include this feature are Pirate Warriors 1 through 3, Ken's Rage 1 and 2, Samurai Warriors 1, and Dynasty Warriors 9. This is something that actually kickstarted a series of videos here on this channel and adds a level of fun and challenge to the usual stage. That feature is being able to turn the map off completely. In Pirate Warriors 4, you have the option to have a small, medium, or large map, but that's all you can do. You can zoom in and out, but you can't turn it off. I know this game is designed heavily around missions and objectives, but it still would have been a lot of fun to play with no map. In the end, One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is so all over the place. Most of my pros have been things that I've not only said about the other 3 Pirate Warriors games, but about most Musou games in general. Good graphics, controls, and combat are all the usual suspects of a decent Warriors title, but they don't make a great Warriors title. I've taken a long time to think about where this entry stands among the rest of the series. At first, I thought Pirate Warriors 4 might overtake the 3rd game, but it didn't take too long for me to realize for every step that it took forward, it took 2 back. So with all that's been said, I give One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 an 8 out of 10. It is still a really fun time overall, and though I said good graphics, controls, and combat are expected with Warriors games, what is here is really good. Where Pirate Warriors 4 falls from its predecessor is in the fact that it doesn't really feel like an evolution as much as it feels like a brand new game. Maybe the intention here was a reboot and to test the waters with a potential Pirate Warriors 5 that would cover up to the final arc that Oda has hinted at, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen now. Pirate Warriors 4 didn't land quite as well as I imagine Koei Tecmo and Namco Bandai wanted it to. I really do think that a Pirate Warriors 5 that covers from the beginning to the end of the series in detail would be the game that tops Pirate Warriors 3, but it's still up in the air if we'll ever see that. Pirate Warriors 4 did so much to hold itself back. Reverting back to the usual combat style of most Warriors games was such a bad decision in my opinion. It would have been better to flesh out the original combo system by mixing up more light and heavy attacks. The story not covering a good chunk of the pre-time skip era, I feel makes this game harder for newcomers to get into, not to mention the lackluster treasure log. I will likely still come back to Pirate Warriors 4 to get the last few achievements and trophies, but I can tell you right now that I'll be sticking to Pirate Warriors 3 to scratch my One Piece itch. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe for more. Also, let me know which One Piece Pirate Warriors was your favorite in the comments below. If you'd like to help support this channel and what I do here, you can join the guild, just like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen right now. You can join their names at the end of every single video for just $1 a month over on Patreon, or you can donate in a one-time fashion and join the volunteer unit over on Ko-fi. There are other rewards and other tiers as well, so check out the links that you see on screen, and I will see you all down in the comments.